So tonight, for those of you that are joining us, we're going to be talking about some very key things in parenting. We're going to try to get to some assessment to assess where we are and what our strengths are and what our weaknesses are so we can deal with those. But we're also going to talk about the things that we need to show our children and so that they are able to have a good view of who we are as a parent. And they don't think we're super parents. They don't think we're flawless parents, perfect parents. They don't think that we're parents that are ogres or parents that are with no feelings, because all those things can be actually we can give that to a child to where they feel like that we are, super power, and that we are ogres, or we are feelingless and all kind of things. But we don't want to give them that. We want to give them love. We want to show them respect. We want to show them boundaries. We want to show them grace and forgiveness. We want to show them gratitude. And that's a good one, because we don't want to just we show our kids gratitude at Thanksgiving. Let's sit down at the table at Thanksgiving and we're all going to talk about, how thankful we are and how grateful we are that we have a father. But we want to show them that every day. Okay. So I just thought that was really good. Adaptability. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk to them about intentionality. I think that's going to be a really good one for us to share about. So these are the things we're going to talk about tonight, and hopefully this will help you to understand what areas that you need strength in as a parent, and what areas. And if you are not parenting, if your children are adult children, then these are areas that you can go back and ask forgiveness for that you didn't do with your children. And I think that really will be a big pointer with you when you go back to adult children and just say, look, I'm sorry. I didn't give you what I should have given you. And would you please forgive me? And then help them as they parent. If they have children, these things will help you to help them parent. Because as a grandparent, I think you take on a whole different role with a child than you do as a parent. Okay. So the first one I want to talk about is love. And this parental love that you have. It requires sacrifice. It requires self-control. It requires attention, instruction, correction. And its particular focus is on connection. That means that you show them that you prioritize even their schedules. I think that's very important, that you don't make the child's life seem as though it is not, your life is important, their life is not important. Your life is significant, their life is insignificant. I think it's very important that we, show them that, and that is a way of love, and when they see you, as you prioritize the things that are important to you, but you also prioritize the things that are important to them, so that they can know how to set priority. All right. Also teaching them how to focus attention, that's love. Because have you ever seen, and this happens to adults, I'll see this in marriage couples, they'll be talking to one another and the other partner is not even listening to the one that's communicating. They're sitting there and you can see their mind. They're just thinking about, what am I going to say? I need to address that. And they're not even listening to the person that's communicating. So teaching your children how to communicate is very important. That is love, because it teaches them that while I'm talking to you, you listen to me. Listen to what I'm saying. And when you talk to me, I'm listening to you. I grew up in the era that it was like children are to be seen and not heard. So it was really, to me, horrible, because children you couldn't say anything. And I was reprimanded a lot because I asked a lot of questions. And I remember one time the milkman told my mom, because I was asking him a question about delivering the milk. And my mom said, stop asking so many questions. Stop asking all those stupid questions. And the milkman said to my mom, don't say that to her. No question is a stupid question. And it's the truth. There's no question is a stupid question. Any question that you're asking is to get knowledge. And so it's not stupid to ask a question. And as we are on these Bible studies, don't think it's stupid to ask a question, or that your question is trivial or not significant, because sometimes God has you ask a question for somebody else that might be fearful, and asking something, and then you ask it, and then now they have the answer that they wanted, and they were bound by fear and didn't answer. So you don't want children to feel like they're not, their communication is not important, and also you want to show them patience by showing them your imperfections. That's love. Love is not making a child think that you have everything together, because there are things that you don't have together. God has everything together. And we focus on his mercy, his grace, his peace, his loving kindness, his meekness, his temperance, his faith. Those are things we say are ours, but we don't want to in any way show a child that we're the bomb. We have no problems with anything. We know everything. Because you got to think, to a child that doesn't know, and you're giving them information, it would seem that you know everything, but you don't know everything, and this is important. And also, it's important to let a kid be a kid. Let a child be a child. Don't try to make your child an adult. That is not love. You're robbing them of a part of life that they need to walk in and walk through. So allow them to be a child. And so that, so just us talking about that and looking into that and seeing how we can do better in that is going to be really good. I know my daughter, my oldest daughter, told me, and she's in her upper 40s, and she said to me, she said, Mom, when I was little, I was terrified of you. And when she said that, I got so upset. I was like, oh my goodness, are you kidding? She goes, no, I was terrified. She must have told me this when she was maybe in her early 30s. And I was so upset, because I was like, I didn't want her to be terrified of me. But I realized I was raising her, I was training her to be just like what my mom trained me. And I was terrified of my mom. I just thought my mom was the general. And if she made a decree, you were going down, So, and I thought, oh my goodness. So I actually showed my daughter what it's like the saying, children practice what they learn. So I learned that, your mother is the stern dictatorian, that, you do what she says, or are you going down, and she has all the ability to take you down. And I had done that to my daughter. So I was so upset. And I told her, I said, I'm so sorry. She said, well, I'm not afraid of you now. Now I realize that, but she was in her 30s telling me this. So we have to realize that some of the things that we have taken from our parents that have not been correct parenting skills, we have got to deal with. We've got to shut down those things that are not like the Father and embrace only the things that are like him. So don't ever tell your children that they can't ask a question. Now, you might, sometimes children can ask questions, and it's not it's an inopportune time. And you might have to say, well, honey, let me answer that for you later, And children, for the most part, as long as they know you're going to get back to them, they're pretty, they're pretty patient, And if you see them operating in impatience, then you minister to them about that. You said, now the Lord's giving you patience. And that's something that you have been given by the Lord Jesus Christ. So, you minister to them that, so that they can understand that is something and a virtue that they have from the Father, and they don't have to be impatient about things. Okay. So, anyone showing love, that's one of the ones we're going to talk about tonight. And then, also this one, and it's respect. Now, my children used to tell me this. They would say, Mom, you don't give us respect. And I was like, what do you mean I don't give you respect? And I didn't understand, because I didn't realize that I didn't get respect as a child. So I was practicing what I had received. So we're going to talk about that. And, and one thing that we have to understand, that respect is grounded in the recognition, the knowing that God-given value is in each person in the family. Every child brings in value. and brings in different values. So therefore you can't raise children all the same. You can't say, well, okay, Mary, I want you to sit here for 15 minutes and read this book. And okay, now, Johnny, I want you to sit here 15 minutes and read this book. And Abraham, I want you to sit here 15 minutes and read this book. And now you got Mary sitting quietly reading the book. You got Johnny jumping off the walls with the book in his hand. And you got Abraham looking at the book like, what is this, airplane flipping it through the air? And then you're like, oh, Johnny, oh, Abraham, you're so disobedient. Sometimes we're asking people to do things they just don't have it to do and be. And we need to ask God how, when, where, because even though you want Johnny and Abraham to get that information, you have to see timing. You have to see that what kind of structure they need to be in to get this information. You know, maybe Johnny, after he goes outside, throws the ball a few times, runs around, you know, and then comes back in, he can sit down and read the book like Mary. You know, but right now, Johnny needs to work off all that energy that he has. And so you're thinking he's being disobedient, but his body is telling him, let's go, let's jump, let's run, let's jump, let's jump. So he can't concentrate until you deal with what thing is bothering him. And maybe Abraham is in focus because something else is bothering him that he hasn't shared with you. So he can't begin to read. He's got something on his mind. And so you have to look at each child differently. Find out what it is. If it's something that is there, you know, that they can't, you know, respect the fact that Johnny needs to go work off that excess energy he's got and then come in and read the book. You know, don't just make Johnny and Abraham be children that are bad and disobedient because they didn't do it the way that Mary did it. Because it could well be that once you get Johnny settled down, he may have absorbed more from the book than Mary did. But right now, Johnny's not there. And this is a problem I have with, you know, with school. I mean, the way they set up school, it's like the kids are so conformed. Everybody, and I remember being in school as a child, and I know you do. And you remember the kids that, you know, just didn't get it. You remember the kids that got it like this. You remember the kids that were disruptive. You remember the kids that were quiet. And you thought, oh, the disruptive kids, they got a problem. And the kids that's quiet, they got a problem too, because they need to talk. And the kids that's, you know, and you are sizing people up based on the rule of everybody needs to be quiet, sit down and do this at this time, and that's it. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have order. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about order now. I'm talking about conforming. I'm talking about cloning children to all be the same and all have the same aspirations and all have the same expectations. And that's not how God made us. So we've got to understand that just giving a child the respect that they need and that being their individual that they are can sometimes keep you from a lot of, you know, yelling and getting upset and wondering what's going on with them, you know, just respecting them, because respect is expressed through your patience. It is also expressed through your communication. Remember I said communicate, find out what's wrong with Abraham. Why is he just looking at the book ready to fling it like airplane? You know, your attentive listening is a form of respect. Listen to what's going on. Like, okay, Johnny, why are you, you know, bouncing off the wall? Why aren't you reading the book? Then listen to him, and then he'll tell you. He goes, oh, Mom, can I go outside? Can I go outside? And he might not be able to tell you, I need to go outside to work off this excess energy. But he's saying, I need to go outside because he knows that when he gets outside, he's going to be able to run around and whatever. So respect is very important. And also respect is a commitment to solutions. That's respect. You know, we think that coming to a solution with people is a privilege, but it actually is a way of respecting them. Okay. Understanding a person's uniqueness. That's what I'm talking about. You know, Mary's unique and Mary's, you know, quiet. She likes to read, and she may not even like going outside. Okay. And here's Johnny. He's like, he loves outside. He wants to be out there running and jumping. And then Abraham may not be so much outside, but he may have some deep thoughts and things on his mind that he needs to talk about. So This is important that we understand. See, as we talk about this parenting, I'm telling you, it's going to help us understand each other. It's going to help us have grace for one another and respect for one another. And it's going to change the way we think, because we're going to realize that nobody is the same. And we're trying to do what the world has taught us and make everybody the same. Everybody do the same thing. Everybody have the same gift. Everybody have the same talent. And it doesn't work like that. So in talking about respect, it's going to help us. Respect helps you with boundaries. It helps you with limits. Okay. It's through, and respect it comes through words of encouragement. It comes through loving correction also. That's a form of respect. And responding instead of reacting. All these are form of respect. Okay? Let's talk about boundaries. Before I go, I want to make sure that I don't have any let me get my glasses here to see if I've got some oh, okay, I do. Okay, sorry about you guys. We're going to go back and look at some of these comments. Oh, you guys, good job. Okay. Apostle Brian said, that's good. It's really common among some people in the body of Christ who says that their younger children have been called into ministry, prophets, apostles, and don't allow their children to be children. Oh, Brian, that's a real good one. I have a young woman who's one of my daughters, and I'm telling you, her parents, she had a prophetic gift very young and operated in it, and her parents would not let her play. They would not, like, you're a woman of God. It's important. You're anointing. And they shut this kid down, and she is still trying to recover from that. So that's a real good point. Very good. Apostle says, yes, and we need to respect individuality and uniqueness. Everyone learns differently, and that's true. Oh boy, these apostles tonight, I got you on a roll. Apostle Brian said, I know within some of the Black culture, respecting children was not heard of. Was not heard, nor was respect seen or taught as something of value. I'm telling you, yes, that's exactly what happened with me. Okay, this is either Nancy or Marcy saying, yes, Mama Dixie, homeschooling is one of the best decisions we have made for our children. They're more confident learners now. Oh, wow, this is good stuff, you guys. Apostle Brian said, respect was reserved for parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and not children. Brian, did you grow up in the same household as I did? Same family? It's very true. Very true. Apostle Robert says creativity and innovation is severely limited when we box people in. That is so true. Core curriculum is a foundation for cloning human robots. You're right. You're right. Okay. And then Apostle Summers says to your comment, Marcy and Anthony, I agree. Homeschooling is the way to go. And then Apostle Brian says, understanding a person's uniqueness is a lesson that needs to be taught today. Yes. And that's why I try so hard to tell people and to tell them, look, be who you are. Don't try to be someone else. Don't aspire to have a gift that God hasn't given you. Respect what he's made you and how he's made you. And because what we need from you, we need from you. We can't get it from you if you're being a hypocrite. And I told you, a hypocrite is a play actor. You're acting like you're something, but you're not. You're putting on a performance, and you're unable to provide the goods because you're not who you say you are. So that's really good. So good comments, you guys. Good comments. And please, if I need to, I think I got everybody off mute. So if you need to make a comment, just say, hey, I got something to say. And I will definitely be quiet and let you say it, because I don't see hands right now. Let me see if I can get your hands pulled up here where I can see them. Okay. All right. I can see your hands now. All right. But at any rate, if you need to say something, definitely come off mute and say it, okay? Because this is too good. These are some real good comments you guys are making. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for your comments. So now we're going to talk about setting boundaries, okay? And one thing about setting boundaries, and I want to make it really clear, and because sometimes people say they're setting boundaries, but they're building walls. You know, boundaries are not walls. Let's make that real clear from the beginning. A boundary is not a wall. Okay. It's like when you cross the state line, you cross the boundary, but you didn't hit a wall when you crossed from Ohio to Kentucky. You didn't hit a wall when you crossed from Illinois to Indiana, but you went into a different boundary. You went into a different state. You went into a different region. Okay. So I want to make that clear because I think people are, and they're saying this, and I don't know where it's coming from, and maybe some of you might be able to make some comments on this, but they're saying when they are finding that they have narcissistic spouses, they're like, I need to set boundaries, but what they're setting are walls. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what you should be doing. God never intends for us to set a wall. He is our defense. He is our strong tower. We're not our strong tower. We're not going to take our ideology and make a wall for someone that's impossible for someone to go through. Because remember, walls keep people in and it keeps you from going out. So it's not the same thing as a boundary. I want to see if anyone has anything they want to share about this. That has, because I don't know right now of a good example, but I know I've heard some of our coaching clients, and they talk about that they have to set boundaries. And when they talk about these boundaries, they're walls. So did anybody have anything that they've seen or have a sample example of what I'm talking about, or a sample of a wall that's set instead of a boundary? Precious, you have an example of that? Tasha, I know you guys that are dealing with Apostle Brian. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Am I coming across through? Can somebody tell me if they can hear me? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So, okay, Precious, you heard me. Okay. So did you have an example of a wall that a person put up and they said it was a boundary? Okay. You can't, it's too loud where you are to come off mute. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm sorry. All right. I wanted to see, oh, I got you guys on mute. It says I'm muted. Can somebody talk to see if I got you guys on mute? Because I don't think I got you on mute. On my end, it says, okay. Yeah, people can hear me. Click to unmute yourself. Okay, all right. I'm sorry. I did have you on mute. No wonder nobody's saying. I was like, can you guys hear me? You guys, I couldn't hear you. So, Apostle Brian.
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you share about a wall that somebody puts up and they think it's a boundary?
I think it's more like, I'll just use me as an example.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Where a lot of people say that I'm quiet and don't want to talk to people, or I don't talk to people. That's a wall that I put up.
Oh,
but
good.
I used to call it a boundary.
Oh my God, that's a good example. That's a good example. Very good. I knew you guys had, and I know Precious in a loud spot, but I'm really got it in my spirit that she has some, a real good one. That's a great one, Apostle, a great one. And, because listen, boundaries are implemented. Listen to this. And they are there to teach, to correct, to guide, to start or stop, and they are helpful. Okay. Now, they are not meant to do just exactly what you said, to be a place of fear. They're not meant to be a place of reservation. That's not what boundaries are for. So that's a real good example. Does somebody else have one that wants to come off mute and share it, or share it on the chat? That's a real good one, Apostle Brian. Very good. Anyone else that has one? Okay. All right. Well, okay.
Yeah, I got one.
I was going to say, you don't have one?
Yeah, no, I certainly do. We see it quite often, especially when we're coaching and taking people through deliverance and talking about some of the things that are going on in their life. And that's this, is that for a person to have a boundary that says, I'm not going to be drawn into a, toxic or septic conversation that somebody else wants to lure me into in order to aggravate me, that is setting a boundary. And it's okay.
Yes.
We can make that boundary.
Right.
A wall is where, when the hurt is so deep that you refuse to engage in any type of conversation. In other words, you've already, discarded that person.
Right.
Even if that person, so let's say that person wants to repent. A boundary may say, well, I have to be cautious here because, there's been some things that have gone on between us that has not been healthy. We need to be careful. But a wall says, I don't care. You can ask for forgiveness. You can repent. I am not going to go that. It's kind of like with narcissism, where people talk about, there is no hope for a narcissist.
Right.
That's a narcissist, always a narcissist.
That's what I want.
And of course, we disagree with that because we know God can heal anybody. It doesn't matter what type of trauma you've experienced or whatever type of bondage you have. God, if you desire to be free, you can be free. But there's people that will put up a wall. Now, again, a boundary is fine, where you don't allow people to abuse you. I think we need to have those boundaries.
Right.
But to have a wall where we disassociate ourselves and cut people and say, I will never, ever, I think that's very dangerous. Yeah,
very
so
dangerous.
That's what I want to share.
So boundaries are meant to teach, to guide. They're meant to help. They're not meant to befriend and cut people off. That's not what the boundary is for. Like I told you, you go to the state boundary, and you don't hit a wall. You just go from it. And now you may go from state to state to different rules and different laws and different, ordinances that they do. But, even sometimes you can go from state to state, and they even change the speed limit from state, but it's not meant to alienate you. It's not meant to keep you from coming through. It's not meant to keep you out, and it's not meant to protect you from somebody coming in either. It's not that's not what boundaries are for. They're there, like I said, they exist to guide, to teach. They exist to help get balance in your life. It helps self-control. Sometimes boundaries are made for maturity reasons, So you have to have healthy boundaries, okay? But healthy boundaries equal freedom, not bondage. Okay, so I want to make that really clear, that we understand that we have to teach children about boundaries, but that boundaries are not meant to befriend, to cut someone off, to alienate. Okay. Then grace and forgiveness. Okay, now I know everybody can talk on this. One thing about the grace of God, it is so awesome because we've been given that unmerited favor. It's awesome, and the forgiveness that we've been given. So how can we be unforgiving when we've been given forgiveness? How can we hold a debt against someone else when we've been made free of our debt? And this is something we have to teach children so that they know that they have to walk in forgiveness. And one thing about children, I think is very different from adults, is that children forgive quickly unless there's something that has happened, some traumatic event where it has not been dealt with correctly. So you have to teach children about forgiveness and understanding, because what happens is that it makes children grow up to be adults who are unforgiving. If you don't teach them the importance of grace and forgiveness, it makes them grow up to where they are unforgiving adults, that they're very hard, and they have no mercy for people, and they feel people should walk a chalk line, you know, and don't don't venture to the left or right. You stay right here in this straight line I got for you. And so it really causes people to have dysfunctional relationships with people, because no one wants to be around somebody that never forgives them. No one wants to be around somebody that doesn't have any grace, any mercy, you know, for them. So you have to watch this, because grace and forgiveness are so necessary, because we are imperfect, because we make mistakes, because we can offend and not even be aware we've offended. So we have to understand the importance of forgiveness. Sometimes someone that has done something, you doesn't even realize they did it to you. And you're all angry and thinking they, you know, and then of course you got the accuser telling you, oh, they knew they did it, and they didn't even know they did anything. Sometimes people can offend you for just being who they are, or they can do something to hurt you because of their personality, but they're not doing it intentionally. So we have to operate in forgiveness and grace, so that we can teach our children these things, okay? Because you know, if you're not able to let things go, if you're not able to deal with love when you get frustrated, and now, you know what I mean? Like, you're frustrated, now you don't want to be in a person's presence. That's the issue. And also, help someone when they do fail. Forgiveness is such a restoration tool, so that they can know, wow, you know, I messed up, and you've given me forgiveness and grace. It's I mean, we are given the ministry of reconciliation. So it's important that we operate in forgiveness and operate in grace, you know. So, you know, you have to help children to understand this, so they can pursue growth instead of perfection. Because when you don't forgive a person, it sends the signal that you want them to be perfect. You aren't perfect, so how do you expect them to be perfect? Is everybody understanding that? So we have to teach children about, you know, grace and forgiveness, okay? And it also requires listening. When a child, even with forgiveness, listening with the goal of connecting with the person. You know, when someone comes and says they're sorry, and you listen, you say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. You know, you're listening to them, and you're having mercy also, and grace on that person as they share their whatever they've done where they've missed the mark. Okay. And then you extending forgiveness is telling them that it's okay. I am here to restore you, just as Jesus restored me. Okay. It also is a way that you form trust. And then, of course, you build and rebuild trust through forgiveness. Okay. Gratitude, teaching our children gratitude. And that's the ability to focus on what you have rather than what you don't have. Okay. This will lead a child to have a satisfied heart. You won't have a child that's always pining after something that they don't have, instead of being thankful for what they do have. This is something we adults have got to do. You know, they've got to walk in gratitude, really, because you'll see them, they'll go like, well, oh boy, if I just had a house. I'm in an apartment now, but you know, I really need a house. I need a house. I need a house. And this old raggedy apartment, this old apartment, I need a house. And that's not teaching children gratitude. That's not being thankful for what you do have, because you got the apartment. And I found that when God blesses me is when I am thankful for where I am. It seems like when I'm thankful for where I am, that's when he just wants to give me. And I'd be like, oh God, I wasn't even asking for that. I wasn't doing it. But I'm telling you, I've seen people walk and being ungrateful and being unthankful, and I've seen them go down. I mean, they've gone down. And one of the examples of a people that walked in unthankfulness was the children of Israel. God did all those miracles and brought them from up under the Egyptian bondage. And as soon as they got in the wilderness, they began to grumble. And the thing is they grumbled and said, and they were telling Moses, well, you brought us out here to die. We want the leeks that was in Egypt. Leeks, that's an onion. I was like, why did he say something like, something that was really, that just shows you how that ungratefulness and unthankfulness and not having gratitude makes you foolish. It makes you very foolish. So they're sitting up there whining and talking about they missed the onions. That's what in an onion. That's an onion in an onion family. What we had in Egypt. And then God wanted them to know he was going to take care of them. But they had seen the power of God. And in your life, you've seen the power of God. You've seen how God has done things for you. You've seen how he's brought you through. And it's so important that your children see you being grateful and showing gratitude to the Lord and thankfulness. Because if you don't show them that, they're going to live what they learn, and they're going to become adults that are ungrateful and unthankful unless somebody teaches them the importance of being thankful and gratitude. Okay. Okay. Marcy and Anthony said that's good. And they said, right, miss something so small. Yeah, it's very important to be very grateful and teach your children gratitude. Okay. And so I said, this leads them to have a satisfied heart that's free and available to connect and listen. Because when the person gets in a place of unthankfulness and a place where they're not grateful, have you noticed they're hard to even talk to? It's like they're honed in on what they don't have. You can't even they won't even see what they do have. And I tell you, this is a tool of the enemy that is so wicked and so evil. It's one of the first things. Unthankfulness is one of the first things that men begin to do that takes them away from God and puts them in a place of a reprobate mind, being unthankful and ungrateful. So you have to understand that gratitude is expressed through genuine thankfulness, being genuinely thankful for what you have. God knows if you're thankful, if you're putting on an act, if you're saying to people, oh, I'm so blessed with my apartment, oh, this old doggone apartment. In your mind, you saying, oh, I don't want this apartment. But, oh, I'm blessed. You see my apartment. I'm blessed until God gives me a house. And you're being a fake. God's looking right at your heart. So this is what I'm talking about, is genuine thankfulness. Gratitude is genuine. It's not phony. It's not saying something to make people think you someplace you're not. And if you're having an issue with gratitude, then check out if you're being thankful, if you're telling God, thank you. Okay. It also will help you to gain a perspective that parenting is a relationship with a child. It's not a role. Okay. And it is a life that they're looking for. Okay. And let me tell you that life is a gift. It is a gift. God gives life. It's a gift. So this will help this. And you know what? It helps people to become flexible and optimistic when you're grateful. Okay? It teaches you where, like Paul said, I've learned how to be abased and abound. I thank God for whatever state that I'm in. And that's important. Okay? All right. Now, let's talk about this, and that is adaptability. Okay? Adaptability requires courageous flexibility, self-care, creativity, and being able to let things go. Okay? It involves adjusting to circumstances, situations, and environments that are constantly changing. Okay? It is embracing the fact that stress is a part of life and that it requires management rather than avoidance. Adaptability is seen in the ability to listen and to be creative and to respectfully respond to others, their personalities, their opinions, and their ideas. That's adaptability. You want to teach your children adaptability. Well, I'm going to open up and see if someone has something that they want to share about that adaptability. Okay. You guys are all off mute. Someone wants to come off and share about teaching children adaptability and how you've been able to operate in adaptability. Okay. Or are you having difficulty operating in adaptability? That might be something we might need to talk about, some areas that we are having difficulty in, because remember, we're in this age now of instant. Everything I want it quick. I got to have it. I want to be in this. I want to be here. No one wants to adapt to situations. They want to change the situation. This and change. They want to use God like a crystal ball. Lord, take me out of this, put me over here, put me out of this, put me over there, or like some genie, something magical, some mystical. And that's not what God. That's not our Father. So, does anybody want to share anything about adaptability, being flexible? I think I got you guys off mute. Yeah, come on.
I'll share. Okay, I'll share. With as far as with you and I and raising the kids, especially your boys, and I can think back for myself, just in the area of sports, where you have different types of coaches, and I know that for me, obviously different coaches or different systems, different schools, they all have their different ideologies and ways of doing things, their own culture. So. And then, of course, we couldn't have seen this any more than with our sons that played basketball at a very high level, that they were challenged by that. When they went into different programs, maybe from, in one case it was the Big Ten to the Big East. It was a completely different program, different coaching mindset. And we saw how initially there was some frustration in our son, but I remember talking to him, and we told him, to be flexible, to adapt to that's the coach. We always talked about authority, that even though you may not necessarily like what's going on, you still submit to that authority. And that was, I think that was a good example of us teaching, and of course our son and sons, and adapting to the situation at hand. You may not like it, but you adapt. It's kind of like, you may not like the weather outside. You may not like the fact that it's been raining for the last 2 weeks somewhere, but you adapt. You get a raincoat. You don't have so much pride that you say, well, forget it. I'm not going to wear a raincoat, or I'm not going to wear a jacket and go out and freeze and catch pneumonia. You adapt, and there's nothing wrong with adapting. And I want to say this. I believe that adapting is different than complying.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say that sometimes.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think sometimes people may think, well, I'm not going to comply. Well, adapting isn't compliance. Adapting is adapt. Doesn't mean you're stuck there. Doesn't mean you agree philosophically or any of that stuff.
It's adjusting. It's not having no mind and just doing what you're told, and that's it. And you're just So it's really good, because one thing that compliance can cause a person to become rebellion. It really can. Or adapting doesn't cause rebellion. Adapting is just being flexible, and understanding the situation you're in, and making the best of the situation you're in, and not allowing the situation to dictate who you are and what you have, but just saying, this is something right now that I'm adapting to, because environments are changing, situations change, but it isn't going to change who God is in my life. And that's very important, that you don't. And that's kind of like with my son talking about. You're right. That's a good example. He was going to one college, and he said, I needed to leave. I need to go someplace else, because I don't see myself, going where I need to go. And although I've been here for a couple of years, and I've you know, been there and been what I need to be in the team, but I think now I need to move on to another place. And so he saw, he adapted to where he was, but then he saw, okay, okay, things need to change. I need to get to something different. And then he made a transition to something different. So I think adapting is very important. It causes adjustments and knowing how to be patient. You know, people have difficulty when they're not walking in patience of adapting in different situations, because they need to deal with patience. They need to walk in patience and not in impatience. So I think that's very important. Let me see if I got anybody that has anything. Okay, yeah, here it is. Marcy and Anthony said, I found that when I didn't adapt, I became overwhelmed quickly. That's it. Everything couldn't be approached with a one-size-fits-all solution. I had to humble myself and ask for wisdom on how to adapt to the present circumstance. We are teaching our children to do this to avoid becoming overwhelmed and experiencing anxiety and frustration. You got it. See, that's an excellent comment. Because if you don't teach them to adapt, then what happens is that they will become overwhelmed, because they're thinking, well, why isn't this like I want it? Why isn't this? Why is this situation not, you know, where it should be? But adapting causes them to have also faith for what God will do. You know, I'll just use back my son with the basketball. My husband's brought that. That's a good. I'll stay right there. He went on the team, and he said, the guy on the team said, okay, I'm gonna take you on the team, but I'm gonna redshirt you because you're very small. Although you're tall, he was very little. He was so frail, and I didn't realize it at the time about how frail he was until I got to see the guys he was playing ball against. I said, oh my God, these look like football players. My son had a basketball body. These guys look like they're playing, you know, they're ready to be a running back or a quarterback or something. They're huge, they're muscles and all. I'm like, oh my goodness, not like what I thought basketball players were like, you know, thin and long and lean and long arms and long legs, you know. But that was not the case. I mean, these guys had muscles popping out their ears. And I was like, okay, how's my son going to adapt? But he did. And he said, you know, I'm gonna adapt to, you know, get on the team, but my faith says that I'm going to not be redshirted. They're going to play me. And so he adapted to his environment, but he still had faith for what he was trusting God for. So that's good. I'm so glad you said that, what you said, Marcy, and that is that if you learn adaptability, it will keep you from becoming anxious. So he did not get anxious to say, well, I'm not going to forget it. I'm just not even going to go play for that school because they're going to redshirt me, you know. No, he adapted to that place, but he still had faith. And then sure enough, he never got redshirted. God honored his faith where they had to play him. They couldn't redshirt him. So see, this is what I'm saying. And that really helps your comment, Marcy and Anthony, is that you have to understand and teach your children adaptability. Don't make them think that they don't need to adapt to situations sometime until God does it. Doesn't mean, see, if the children of Israel would have adapted to what they were going through, that wilderness experience, instead of complaining, instead of murmuring, instead of looking at where they were, instead of looking at what God said. See, this is why it's so important, our faith. And it's just like what I was sharing with my son. He had faith in what he was believing God for. That even though they said, look, we're going to have to redshirt you, we're looking at your size, we're looking at the circumstances, he was looking at what God could do. And then because he looked at what God could do, it had him okay. He was able to stay in that situation without being anxious. I was telling him, I said, now, you know, with your faith, you got faith says you got it. So you can't be sitting here acting like you don't have it, because then that is no faith. Faith is not walking by sight. So, and so he's, you know, and that was my counsel to him. So this is really, really good. Okay. Anyone else? Any questions? Boy, is my time gone? Wow. Wow. Any questions? Any comments? All right. Okay. Okay, because you guys are still off mute. So, all right. So, like I said, when you teach your children adaptability, they are taught that they are able to be in a situation and they have the ability to listen. Now, what if my son would have been in that situation and he didn't want a red shirt, but he had a bad attitude? He wasn't listening to the coaches. He wasn't, showing up for practice on time. When he was there, he was slumping all around with a bad attitude. Then was he really operating in adaptability? I believe that if he would not have operated the way he had, I don't even believe his faith would have worked, because he would not have been in a place of, because faith says you got it. If you're all slumping, looking all miserable, got a bad attitude, not showing up, you aren't looking like somebody that wants to be on the team. You look like more somebody that wants to be red-shirted and wait, and so you can mature. So you follow what I'm saying? So adaptability is very important, because it does have you where you listen and where you become creative, and but you're very respectful at the same time, okay? And that you understand, like when the coach said, well, look, you're thin or whatever. And he understood what the coach said, but he had faith. Okay, I understand that, but I'm believing God. I'm not going to be redshirted, So it's important that we teach our children that. Intentionality. Do I have time to get in this one? Okay. Boy, my time is flying. Okay. All right. Intentionality is demonstrated through an emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual commitment to growth within a family. Okay. It requires a significant amount of energy and focus, and involves guidance, preparation, teaching, attention, learning, planning, and involvement. It is a clear expression of a parent's value of relationship, connectivityness, and spiritual and personal growth. Now, this is so good. This is so good. This is our last one to talk about tonight. But to help a child, okay, by you demonstrating spiritual commitment to his growth, is powerful. By you demonstrating patience, by you demonstrating the ability to give them the energy and focus, okay, that guidance involved, because guidance takes energy. It takes focus. To guide someone is not something that you can do with your eyes closed. You got to have your eyes wide open. You got to be able to give them some clear-cut direction. You got to, sometimes children will ask, well, why are we going this way? Or why are we doing this? So you got to have some wisdom that you impart in that guidance. So it's very important that you understand these things we talked about tonight. And I thought we'd get into some assessments, but this time has just flown tonight. I'm sorry. But we're going to be back next week, still on the same subject of dealing with raising children, guiding children through life, parenting. And some of these things we're talking about is going to cause us to assess our own lives and what we didn't get as a child, and then renew our minds with the Word of God, like it says in Romans 12:2, so that we can get what the Word is to give us, and that is a transformed life. So God bless you for joining us tonight. I want to thank you for coming on and your comments, and thank you so much for just being with us. And I want to ask you to join us Sunday mornings from 11 to 12 Eastern time for Sunday equipping with Apostle Summers. And if you're in the Texas area, or you just want to drive down or fly down and be with us, we're going to be in Austin, Texas. We'll get there on the 23rd, and we'll be there from the 23rd through the 25th. That's that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you can join us, please definitely join us. We're going to have a powerful time there. We have a powerful church that is bringing us in to release some deliverance and some teaching. So join us if you're in the Texas area, or you just want to come down and join us anyway. We're going to be at the Marriott Austin. Marriott, and I believe it's the Marriott North. So if you can join us for that, please come and join us. And then we're going to be in May. We'll be in Greensboro, and I believe it's the 18th through the 20th will be in Greensboro. We'll be in April on the 20th and 21st. We'll be in the Washington D.C. area. So go to summersministries.com, to our website, and look at our itinerary, and come and join us as we go and teaching this word and going through this country with delivering America with the truth of the kingdom message. So God bless you. If you want to give, please go to the website summersministries.com and click on the donate to give. And if any of you have been blessed and encouraged by these messages, please keep us in prayer. Please keep us in prayer. I think that is so important that you pray for us. God bless you. Love you guys. Until next week, have a beautiful and a restful rest of your evening. God bless. Bye-bye.